want to find the solution in institutions, perhaps send your child to boarding school or increase their church activities, and with the hope that somehow it's going to be solved. Is institutionalizing a child, whether that institution is a boarding school or whether it is a church or mosque or another religious activity, is this the solution?
It's for the parent to think why. Why am I relying upon an institution to do this? What is it that I feel ill-equipped to do myself? Where's the gap in my relationship with this young person that I feel others, external relationships, will be able to feel that? And then it's sort of just being able to try and start that conversation. Because if somebody is already fragile or feeling very low in mood or anxious or tearful, they just want to be contained by somebody who knows them. And when I say contained, I don't mean physically. It's to be held and to be understood and to be listened to and nurtured. So it's to sort of regain that relationship within the family unit.
For teachers and for guardians,
Yes.
Particularly teachers in boarding schools, matrons in dorms, and other significant adults interacting with young people, what would your advice be to them when they notice that there might be a problem or the beginnings of a problem?
They're in pole position because they're with the young person every day if it's a boarding school, and they're the guardian at that time. They have a duty of care to safeguard. So those are the things that they're accountable to because of their profession. And as an adult, they then can be vigilant and they can communicate to that person. So it's to be, again, just watching, observing. Initially, it's just watching and wait. You watch and you wait and you see what's going on. And then you're communicating with other professionals who are there, other people who are interacting with that person. And what have they observed? It's only then you get the full picture. You're all parts of a jigsaw puzzle. But when you come together and you sit down and you talk about your concerns with someone and then they add another piece, you can then make a plan and you can communicate your concerns to the parent, or you can have one-on-one. Most schools have a counsellor. So it's to think, actually, I need to work with this counsellor and see how they can interact with that young person.
When and if a situation does arise and one feels perhaps my child does need professional help, how do you go about it?
What you would think about is who is out there that can help my child? Who is there that can help the family? Because in helping the child, you've got to think, actually, is it just the child? Or is the symptoms being projected into the child that way? But what is the family also going through? So we don't want to label and we don't want to sort of make them feel that they're the designated patient within the family. We want to see, okay, maybe as a family, we all need to go for some therapy. And once you sort of come to that realization, you can either, first point of call may be to speak to a doctor who would then refer. And by referral, it's looking at either contacting one of the societies who are in Kenya, like the KCPA, who will have a register of all qualified counsellors, and they may be based all over Kenya, and they'll offer a service to the pocket, a more tier approach to payments, and then you can think about how that's going to work for the family. It's got to be affordable. You don't enter into something and then you're already feeling it to be difficult. That's adding more stress onto the young person and the family. But once you've found a therapist, then you're able to interact with them, and because they are qualified, they'll be able to tease out what's going on within the family, and then work one-on-one with the young person in particular.
Julie, is this not all just a matter of prayer, laying of hands, or seeing a witch doctor, or popping some pills? And I'm saying this a bit tongue-in-cheek, but these are some of the solutions that are bandied out there.
But I suppose even when you say laying of hands and all the rest of it, that's showing that's relational, isn't it? You've brought somebody else into the mix to try and see if they can help form a solution for the problem. It may not necessarily be the right solution, but you're then creating an awareness of what's going on, that you need to bring somebody external into the family realm and help. So it may not be the better choice, but for some it is the choice, until they then are either exposed to more information, whether they're able to go to a GP. I would always advocate that in the first line of treatment to go to a doctor and have that conversation, because they will be best placed to signpost families for help.
It's so difficult to talk about what's going on in our own homes.
Yes.
And what's going on with our children, because very often it is reflected upon perhaps bad parenting is the cause of this. What would you say to parents right now who are watching this and struggling with, I need help, but I dare not expose my family?
I would tell them to, in not exposing, it may seem like exposing, but in not exposing their family to help, they are putting their young person in a situation which may be completely overwhelming for that person. They then don't acquire the coping mechanisms that they will need for future. Because if they are young and struggling, as they get older, the struggle will just continue because life will throw curveballs from all directions. So it's to equip them now when they are young, so that they know how to manage their anxiety, feelings of depression, relationships and struggles.
Parting words as we wrap this interview, speaking to those who are living with mental health challenges.
Yes.
Is it reversible? Is this a condition for life?
Yes.
And is it shameful? Speak to those three questions, perhaps.
Those feelings are, mental health comes with its stigma. It's being labelled as something which is shameful and a weakness. But it's looking, if we sort of reframe it, that mental health issues are just your body telling you it needs some assistance. The same way someone may have diabetes, the same way we have arthritis. It's things that happen to our body that we need to manage. It just being in the mind just makes it feel that it's got this stigma and shame attached to it. But once we are able to name that and become comfortable with actually talking about someone's mental health, then we are able to see how we can find a solution. Whether or not, you ask the question of whether it's something that will go, is it lifelong? These are some of the questions and the anxieties that people have. Will I always have depression? Chances are they just find a different way to cope. So when they are faced with challenges, they're ahead of the game. They're working in a proactive way to manage their mental health issues because they become more aware of their stressors.
Is there hope?
Definitely. There's hope once someone decides to take the opportunity to seek help.
Once someone decides to take the opportunity to seek help.
Yes.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for
You're
taking
welcome.
the time for this interview. And
Thank you, Renee.
you've been watching Julie Githiri-Goko, psychotherapist who works with adolescents, with individuals, with couples. Mental health, it need not be a stigma or something that we won't live with. As Judy said, if you're living with diabetes or you know someone living with arthritis, well, a mental health challenge is exactly on that level. Seek the help that you need and help the person who needs that help, who you suspect cannot go on their own. Because after all, aren't we all our brother's keepers, and doesn't it take a village to raise a child? My name is Renee Gamal. Thank you for watching Focus.